welcome back. Hello, Barry Riley.
What's up, Kenya? MJ Music.
Yeah, MJ Music. Well, look at
How,
us. We're
how are
back.
you?
Spiritual shift. I am well. I am
We
well.
are we are back.
It has been a minute, so much so that
Mhm.
that little intro music has changed on
I
StreamYard. I was
know.
like, oh, what's that?
I
That
was
was
like,
cute.
what is that sound? What is that
That was,
music? Where is that from?
I was like, that was cute.
Yeah, it was like a almost like smooth jazz, but like
It
something,
was like,
something.
da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, but it was
So
good.
we are back, and those who are watching in the future, yay! Thanks for watching us in the future. If you're watching live time, say hello, do something, let us know you're here. This is really, it's been a minute. This is Spiritual Shift, and I am Kenya. This is Barry. This is my YouTube channel, but we come together. We kind of go through these like spurts. Well, we'll do Spiritual Shift and we'll go week to week, and then we just disappear, gone.
Poof, we out
Poof,
here,
we out of
and
here.
then we come back
And then we
like,
come back.
wow, we back.
We go back because we miss it. But we're back with intention because we have been working on a lot of really wonderful things behind the scenes, and then our different communities have started to tap in, and we said it's time to get back into Spiritual Shift. And we're going to explain just really briefly before we get into our topic. I do want to say our topic though for tonight. Our topic for tonight is love code. Every first Wednesday, we're going to bring love in the zone. But this one, the topic within the love code is mirror, mirror. I didn't say on the wall though. Mirror,
That's in my
mirror,
head. Mirror, mirror on the wall. That's in my head.
mirror, mirror. How relationships reflect our inner self.
Yes, that is yes, that's heavy right there. That is heavy
Yeah.
right there.
So all those times where we like, I can't stand it. I can't believe he and I don't understand. And it's like, oh, or I keep
Right.
meeting these people that
He's what's the catchphrase or the narcissist? I hear that everywhere
yes,
from women. Oh,
yes,
he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. He's a narcissist.
yes,
Um and the guys are saying something the guy well the I hear women saying that about guys. Like he's a
yes.
narcissist. He's a narcissist. And then I hear guys say like there's a lot of big words like oh she's delusional or lots of stuff from guys.
Yes. So we have some people who chimed in. I put up their comments. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Ashley, if you're still here. Thanks for chiming in. Love you too, Sabrina. I'm not recording no new music right now, lovely. We have to talk about that offline. But yes, that what you just said, Barry, I think is we are hearing it more and more. And I think this is why we wanted to talk a little bit about this topic of how, in fact, our relationships and the people that we draw in have a little bit of a mirror into some things within us, and that doesn't equal then bad or good. It just it equals development. And so
Right.
spiritual shift, we're about not just, we're here to shift things and to talk about real life things and really connect who we are inside to how we are living and having, thriving and beautiful lives. So I'm excited. We got questions. We're going to go back and forth, say our opinions. Obviously, we would love for you all to participate in this conversation. When we pose these questions, we would love for you in the comments to say what your response is, what your reaction is. Because just because we're here, this does not make us by any means the experts. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. I would love for you to be a subscriber. I every Sunday usually post something related to astrology if you're curious about that. But on Wednesdays, we will be coming here, and I will be bringing back my Finding Your Voice After 40 podcast this fall. So lots of good stuff. Been working behind the scenes. Still trying to bring it. And if you
Stuff
don't
happening
know,
behind the scenes. Yes, lots of stuff happening behind the scenes.
lots, yes. And if you don't know, Barry and I are a couple. We're partners. So This is, if you're new to our channel or new to my channel and you're like, well, what are y'all? Yes, this is my love. So some of these questions hit kind of home.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Before we do, we just have a couple quick things because we're working so hard to be intentional because we're building so many really cool opportunities, and we're going to talk more about them at the end. So you got to stay tuned. But I will say this: and I gotta like be able to multitask. If for some reason you're like, ooh, I have some topics I want to talk about with this. If you see here scrolling here, email spiritualshift33@gmail.com. If there is a topic or questions you think we should explore related to spirituality or relationships or astrology or anything in this personal journey, please, we'd love to hear your topics. If you'd like to do a free discovery call, we're going to talk more about what that discovery call will lead to. Then and just because I want to get into our topic, but we'll talk about that at the end because Barry is offering such an amazing thing as he is now a certified spiritual coach and in addition to already have been an MDiv and all the things. So I don't want to talk for you, but we're going to talk about that more later, right? Or you want to say anything?
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah, the coaching, the spiritual coaching program called Beyond Belief, Faith Reimagined is a phenomenal 4-week coaching program that really helps people dig deep into their spiritual practices, reconnect with the divine, kind of decouple from religion or Christianity. If you all of that stuff, So we'll talk more about it.
Or if you're in Christianity, you can still, I mean, we're not trying to take people away from the religion, right?
No. But if you're trying to find yourself outside of Christianity or religion, the coaching program is very, very helpful for that. If you still want to be into religion, but want to dig deeper, want to explore new things that you may not be aware of in Christianity or religion, the coaching program helps that. It's not like connected to any type of religious ideology, nor is it anti-religious ideology. It's really about the individual and their spiritual journey and their spiritual walk, and helping them really dig deeper, connect higher to those things that are most important in their life.
Awesome. So we'll talk more about that. But if that was like, that's interesting, then again, if you just email spiritualshift33@gmail.com, and then I'll talk more about some things I got coming up for you to contact me. But let's get into this topic. Oh my goodness. Mirror, mirror, how relationships reflect our inner self. So we have some questions. I'm going to take a question and ask Barry and hear his opinion, and then I might chime in. You might hear some interesting like chopping noise. That's because there is construction happening where we are, but no worries. We're ignoring it like it doesn't exist. So just
doesn't even exist. Right.
You can ignore it too. Anyway, so I'll ask questions. Barry will answer. Barry will ask me a question. Oh, Barry, yeah, we're gonna have to mute you for a minute, baby.
Oh, I'll mute myself
just for a minute while I describe how this is gonna go. Okay, awesome. So I'll ask a question, he'll answer, he'll ask me a question. But again, we want to hear from you. If you're watching this in the future, please still put in the comments your response to these questions, your experience with this, because again, we're just talking from our perspective and our lived experiences. So first question I have for you, Batty. We often hear that our relationships show us a lot about ourselves, like we've been saying. What's one time a relationship really surprised you by showing you something about yourself you didn't totally realize was there? Oh, you're muted, baby. You're still muted.
So yeah, I mean, when we went over these questions, like I was trying to think of like a really, really good one, but the The biggest one and the most pertinent one, I'm trying to fight off a sneeze here, so I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're about to sneeze.
I'm like, oh,
You might have
hold
to just
up,
go
stay
for it. You
away,
might have to
stay
just go
away.
for it.
Was really my like our relationship when I realized um that a lot of our like early on, like year one, year two, a lot of our rumbles, you know,
Explain what rumbles.
a lot of our little rumbles. Our rumbles are basically like when we get into arguments or get into like discrepancies.
Discrepancies. Arguments. Arguments.
Arguments, discrepancies. We affectionately call them rumbles.
Yes.
So our early rumbles, it became apparent to me that you were a huge mirror for my relationship with my mother
Mm.
and a lot of the things. So that was one thing. That was one thing. Um,
And can
s-
I and what about that relationship? Can you share
well,
more?
like yeah, just a lot of the positives and negatives about that relationship.
Wow.
Um, it was mirroring like literally like all of the unresolved stuff that was just kind of like you know um I don't know, I don't want to date myself, but I will date myself. But remember the excuse me, remember the little game
Oh,
operation
yeah, and it used to
when
buzz when you
you
t
go like when you're trying. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go get some water. But so a lot of that mirroring was happening. um woo,
Oh, are you okay? I mean, if you need to,
yeah, let me go get some water.
I'm gonna take him off for just a moment, and while we let him go grab some water, if you're just coming in, say hi to us, say something. I can't always see all the comments in live time. I seem to be able to see the Facebook comments, but I'm not sure if I see the YouTube comments. But say something. Of course, like this video. Barry's going to get some water. We're asking this question. We often hear that our relationships show us about ourselves. What's one time a relationship really surprised you by showing you something about yourself you didn't totally realize was there? And so, I would say he's answering, saying that I was triggering some of the mom stuff. Obviously, the same thing happens for me. I'm going to answer the next question. I think he's going to be almost back to getting into position once I see he's behind the stage and I can see behind the stage on this. Um, but I think that this is a really, is surprising, and I think people need to remember that relationships are literally any relationship, any, not just our romantic ones. I mean, tonight we're talking romantic, but not just our romantic ones. I think he's back. I'm going to bring him back on the stage. Um, you better,
Okay.
baby, you better.
Woo, man, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I know as you brought up the mom stuff. Oh dear. But I was
Oh my
just
god.
saying how every relationship is a mirror, right? And showing parts of ourselves that we need to develop, that we need to heal, that we need to go give some love to. So that was all I wanted to say. But did you want to say any more about this? Yeah.
Yeah, um and it was something that I hadn't really explored until our relationship. You know what I'm saying? I had done a lot of work, like a tremendous amount of work on my dad, relationship with my dad, and just really kind of like trying to heal a lot of that stuff. I had never really done any work on my mother,
Mm.
and all that stuff. So when you and I got into a relationship, all that stuff was like, I was like, oh my God. So that was one thing, but it really helped me, um, like a lot of the things that, and it doesn't have to be all negative stuff. Like a lot of the things that I admired about you, um, that I may not have been really accepting about myself, or really,
Mm,
it was like when you like something in someone else, it generally is something that is inside of you that you
mhm.
you may not be, using. You may not be, it may not be fully being expressed in yourself.
Yeah.
And then some of the things that um were a little edgy about you,
That's a nice way to put it. Edgy.
a little edgy
Just a little
about
edgy.
you, those things also I had to look inside myself and say, why does this bother me?
Mm.
Why does this bother me about you? So I'm trying to think of something that's not too
I mean, we don't have to give
beginning.
exact
We
examples.
don't,
Oh,
no,
oh,
we don't, I don't have to give an example, but so certain things that are a little edgy about you, that kind of like touched me a certain way. I had to look inside myself and say, well, why do those things bother me? Like, why do those things bother me? So those were also very revealing.
yeah, yeah,
Um, like it really helped me see more inside myself as to why those things were bothering me. So
right.
it's like, if like one thing that I try to talk to people about, guys and women, and it's hard because when you're in a relationship, it's like you're in it and you don't want to look at yourself. A lot of times you want to just blame
Right,
the other person
right, right,
for whatever, and it's like, yeah, you could do that, but that's not gonna get you to um a resolution, and it's
right,
and, and it's not going to really help. It's not going to help you
right,
by
right.
just focusing on the other person. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Which I think is really the bottom line. I know where we are right now. There's work and there's dust getting kicked up, and that's probably, sweetheart, what you're also experiencing is dust in your throat. So I'm like, oh
Is
no,
that what that is?
I feel bad
Oh
for
my
you
god.
because you're closer to where the dust is. But no, that's I appreciate you saying all of that, and we giving y'all an insight on our relationship. But this is kind of the point. This is why we wanted to be transparent, and for you to kind of reflect maybe on some of your relationships and how. And I loved how you were talking about, and then we'll go to our second question. You can ask me about how you'll see something in someone that you maybe haven't been crediting enough in yourself. And I think, when you're attracted to people, that's usually a lot of times what's happening is they have something in them that is lighting up, and you want to embody it as well. But you're having a difficult time maybe showing it. And so it's spotlighting in that other person so that you can feel it more yourself. So
Mhm.
all right. Second, what's can you
All
do
right, the
question
second
2?
question.
Because that's what
Yeah.
I've highlighted to put on the screen. So go ahead.
Yo, think about those things that keep popping up in your relationships. What are some of those common feelings or behaviors, and what do you think they might be trying to tell you about what's going on inside you?
Oh, lordy, lordy. So the things that keep popping up, what are things that keep popping up for us? I think, and this is interesting, is communication, saying things, me wanting you to tell me, certain things right when they happen, or when I feel like you should. And I wonder sometimes, and I just told you this past weekend, I'm like, I think there's some things I haven't been talking to you about. And it's like, oh, this is a thing that I constantly tell him. You know, you should say this in a moment. And then I realized literally this past weekend that there's some feelings, some emotions that I haven't necessarily fully explain to you of how I felt. And it's like, oh, this, this is the very thing I call on him. And so what do I think that might be trying to tell me about what's going on inside of me? Like, again, I think there's so much that I want to be able to express to you. And I think in our relationships, this is just in general for anybody, we have these things inside that we want to, be safe enough to say to our partners. And for whatever reason, for whatever might be happening, we may not feel comfortable yet. And so then if you find yourself demanding that very thing from the other person, you really have to, anything that you're demanding from someone. This has happened to me in the past in other relationships where I'll be demanding, emotion and get deep in there with me. And, I want us to be emotionally. And then I have to really check myself and say, how much are you, Kenya, really allowing, getting vulnerable and really becoming available emotionally with people? And I think because I do coaching, because the kind of work I do, where I deeply have to receive other people's emotion without spilling my emotions out on them, not projecting. I think through all these years, I've just kind of, and then even as a child, I think when I would watch various things go on, I learned how to hold my emotion so that it wouldn't make the situation more chaotic, so that it wouldn't make the situation more whatever. And as I'm holding, I didn't want to necessarily hold it, but I didn't know any other way to have it. So then I see how I demand that from other people, when in fact that is a mirror. That's something that I have to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything, I can't even think of something that's not a mirror. Like I can't even think of in a relationship. I mean, it's completely a mirror because
Yeah.
one of the things that um that should be talked about more and more and more and more as people are in relationships and as people are seeking to be in relationships, that you attract what you are, not this thing in your brain that you think you're attracted to. Okay.
Mm,
You
mm,
this image in your brain that you actually think that you're attracted to. Oh, this is my type. This is my type. You know how we see on the many dating shows that we watch, like
mhm,
pop the balloon or this. That's like a standard question. Is,
mhm.
is he your type? Is she your type? Well, many times our what we think is our type is not really our type. It's just something that we think that we're attracted to. Our type really is exactly who we attract.
Right,
That's your type.
right.
And a
Wow.
lot of times when we attract what we when we attract our our mirror, we like, that's not what I like. And that's the thing is that we are not aware of ourselves, that we've attracted what we are, but then we reject it because
Mm,
we aren't in touch with who we really are.
mm.
Um, um, so
That's a
yeah,
big that's a big you just said something. Can you repeat what you just said for the people in the back?
yeah. So when we are
Oh, wow.
when
That
someone says,
noise. Go
"Oh
ahead.
yeah,
No,
you
go
still
ahead.
hear that?"
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Um, you attract what you are, not necessarily what you're attracted to. You know what I'm saying? You attract what you are inside, like your total makeup, who you are emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, mentally, all of that, your whole energetic field, you attract what you are.
Mm,
Okay. So many times when we have this vision in our head of like, oh, I'm attracted to this, I'm attracted to that. Um, and when we attract someone and we reject them, we're actually rejecting ourselves,
mm,
but we're also not in touch with ourselves enough to be like, well, man, you're attracting exactly what you are. You know what I'm saying? So you can do a couple things. You can just be more aware of what you're attracting. And if it's not something that you want to attract, then you have to change yourself. You have to
Mm,
change what's
mm,
on the inside. Do you know what I'm
mhm.
saying?
Absolutely.
Um, absolutely. So that's some of the trickiness of getting into a relationship, like that dating part, that trying to figure out like who you want to be with. And then so when you're in the relationship, it actually continues because any of the problems that you're having with the other person, the first thing is that the person blames the other person.
Right.
That you did this, you made me do this, you made me feel this, woo, 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 which is real. That's real stuff
Right.
because
Absolutely.
it especially if someone like actually does something. Do you know what I'm saying? Someone actually does something that makes the other person feel a little weird, or they say something. Um, but the thing is that that still is about you. No matter what they did, that. So relationships are a lot, man.
So I want to, and
They're a
I
lot.
and well, they are a ton, which is why I want to talk about it because they're so vital to our growth.
Hmm.
They're so vital to our development, which
Hmm.
is why we said we wanted to do this, why we wanted to talk and bring, we call it love code, these topics around love and why and how they connect to our essential self, our spiritual self, is because when we say we want to grow within or we want to develop within,
Hmm.
understand it. And we're talking romantic relationships right now, but this is any relationship. So
Any
friendship,
relationship,
yes,
anything.
friendships, family,
Parents, siblings,
children,
co-workers, children.
children,
Oh
really.
my God, children.
Children, they be like this with the mirror. I mean, I have a little device. I mean, they
Right.
be you don't have any children, biological children. You got a lot of kids who gravitate towards you, but you see, me with my sons, and we constantly talk about how they are showing it's like drop the mic moments a lot of times in that type of mirror. But all relationships are doing this. And so this is why if we isolate too much and we don't allow ourselves to experience relationship, and I'm not talking about getting married or, getting all hooked up or getting all booed up, but just experiencing the connection of relationship, then you're really limiting your opportunity to develop within because our relationships are attempting to give us that reflection so that we, to what you just said, it can make us aware. It's giving us the opportunity to make us aware of something that it's totally in our subconscious. Like you're not, when you've got trauma or if you've got certain things that have happened to you and you've tried to learn how to recover, survive or just get over things, there's a lot that we just skirt back. If somebody was talking to us a certain way that really hurt us so that we can, still exist and be okay, we push stuff back and keep moving. But that stuff that gets pushed back is still there. And so a lot of
Mhm.
times what happens is then we start drawing in people and we're drawing them in so we can start working on that thing that we were tucking back. We don't
Mhm.
draw them in because we're bad or because we have the same issues. We draw them in because it's trying to teach us how do we start working on that part of ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's I'm talking all pretty about it, but listen, I went through a whole a divorce and everything. So I experienced kind of the whole like, well, I can't do this anymore. And it's like, ooh, that was one of my big questions. Is it that you can't do Kenya anymore or you can't do this? And it was like, whoa. I had to really, really check in and be like, so what is this about? Because you have drawn this in and had to do a lot of self-discovery on that. So
Yeah, it's I mean I've been looking at this for probably easy 25, 30 years.
mm,
Just how I mean I've told you the story of one of my classmates, graduate school associates that I was, when you're in school, you go to school with different people and you take classes and stuff like that with people. Some people you just kind of have to be around, you know, because you're in the same proximity, you're doing work together. I was in graduate school with this guy, and this guy, he just got on my last, like when I say my last nerves, I mean, like I had a little bitty half of a nerve left, and he would jump on all that. I'd be like, oh, I can't stand this dude. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out like why I could not stand this dude. Because
Mm,
and I've told you some of these
yeah,
stories, right?
yeah, yeah.
And he used to lie. He used to like cause, what's called like stir up discord amongst people and like all that stuff. And I was like, I am not like this. How can I? I'm like, I'm not like this. Like, like I can't stand this dude. I I know this guy is mirroring something in me,
Mm,
and I'm like, but I'm not a liar. I'm not I don't be like trying to. So what I discovered after, it took me weeks, maybe some months, few
mhm,
months to really, because I was at the time I was like super, like, I was in seminary, right? So
right.
I was praying and I was, going through all the stuff. Like I need to find out like why this guy gets on my nerves so much. Because it's bothering me. I got to see this dude. You know, we had class together, and we had, I've told you the stories. We, a whole group of us went. I'm not gonna say where because
Yeah, but
we're
just we're
on.
out, we're gone out of town.
We went out of town a little bit for a little something. A group of us. So I finally figured out that the direct correlation, where there were some things about me that were not a direct correlation, but they were like cousins. They were like second, third cousins to like lying, lying and then lying on people and then causing discord amongst brethren. There were a couple cousins, second cousins to those traits that I had. And I was just like, oh
Yeah,
my God,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
crazy. And that's how serious it gets. That's how deep the mirror gets when you're talking about, you know,
Wow.
relationships and stuff. So the
Thank you
mirror
for
gets deep.
thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna ask our next question. You got a heart. I saw a little heart. Somebody was like, "Yeah, that's good." And it's there's so much shame. Like you said, I'm not a liar. I'm not. But good for you for still saying, "I'm gonna keep digging into this and trying to understand it." And the point that you said about cousins, you may not be directly like that, but you may have something that's a cousin to that,
It's a
is
cousin.
akin to that. And
Mhm.
that's the hard part, right? That's where I think, it is so difficult. The fact that you were able to see that, that's being really introspective, and you were in a season of studying, religion and theology and all of that. So I could see how that would prime you. But those of us who are, we just going to work, we trying to take care of the kids, we trying to pay the bills, you don't always have the space, right? And the time and whatever to really dig deep or reflect. And this is why, what you do as a spiritual coach, what I do as a coach is to try to create at least this hour for us to kind of start to unpeel and think about ourselves and think about the cousins to why these relationships, what we might be drawing in when we can't see the
Mhm.
situation. So, all right, that was good. Okay. We got another question, and then I think we might begin to wrap up. So I'm going to ask you a question next, and I'll put it up on the screen. I got to do two things at the same time. See if I can do it. Okay. Spiritually, it's often said we need to own our own stuff. Okay, we kind of already said this, but we're going to go keep going. How can seeing our relationships as mirrors help us take more responsibility in them instead of just trying to change the other person? And do you have any tips? Ooh, this
Yeah,
is
I mean, we have to
good.
take accountability. That's a big a big thing. I mean, we have to. It's really so when you're in a relationship and it's hard. So if it's a man and a woman in a romantic relationship, that's one level. If it's a coworker, that's a whole nother political thing. Do you know what I'm saying? That's another political monster right there.
Yeah.
If it's a superior and if it's a coworker, lateral coworker, it gets tricky. If it's a parent and a child, if it's a grown child and a parent, like you grown and it's your parent, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So it just depends. But like, let's just take the romantic piece, the romantic relationship. Um, One, you just have to take responsibility. It's usually ego. Like when you're in a relationship, you're dealing with your ego. Both people are dealing with their ego, and it doesn't mean that people are, pompous and like all in, about. It's not, the ego is just, no matter what it is, you're still dealing with the ego. Um, and then to take accountability for your stuff, you have to, one, be aware of your stuff. If you're unaware, then you're gonna think it's the other person. And the other
Absolutely.
person,
Absolutely.
right, the other person may legitimately be doing something, but it takes two to tango. Period. There's always two sides to it. Okay, it's always two sides to it. Um, so you have to take accountability and responsibility. You have to really, if you aren't able to, you know, get your ego under control and know when you're being, either stubborn or unrealistic or just you're just being ornery. If you can't get to that, then you're gonna be stuck. You're gonna keep going around and around.
Right. Right. I think that's such a tricky thing, right? Because I know all of us, everyone listening to this and watching this, we get in those relationships where it is legitimate that the other person is just they have done something inappropriate or wrong or disappointed you. And that is the reality. And that's normal, right? That is, I always tell people, if you're trying to find a deep relationship and not get disappointed, that's not that, no. The point is to almost create the disappointment, not only so that you start yelling at them and make them aware of it, but so that you can start thinking about a few things. To your point, what inside of me is drawing this in? And why, if this is something so whatever to me, why does it consistently show up? You know, why do I consistently feel a sense of disappointment in relationship? And it's so important not to go in the shame place, because that's what happens. People start feeling like there's something wrong with them, that they've done something bad, that they have shame, or they keep missing red flags, or all, because people have very traumatic relationships. Like, a lot of really challenging, difficult, hard things happen. And it's super important that you don't walk around holding, thinking, oh, well, I drew in this horrible. No, 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 no. That's not what we're saying. The point is, I think, in addition to what you said, Barry, is also for us to get curious about what's just happening, period, inside of us. It
Right.
may not, to your point, it may not be this direct, oh, they did this, so then I must be that. I mean, rarely, sometimes it's that, but usually it's, they are doing something to trigger you. They're doing something to rub you so that you can start to get more curious about yourself in one way, shape, or form, some kind of way. They don't know that they're doing it. You're doing that to them. The
Right.
very thing that is hard for you to receive, you're doing that very thing to them, that you're not necessarily aware
Right.
that you're causing all of that. So it's like this constant tango that is attempting to get us to yes, connect and enjoy the moment with, that we create with our partners, but to also get a little bit more still on where are the areas that I want to grow, that I want to develop. And I think this, can segue us as we said we would do like 45 minutes or so. So we're going, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I think this is kind of why we want to bring this up in the spaces of talking about spirituality, because ultimately, when it comes down to it, you can't go change anybody. You can't go make somebody do something different, but you absolutely can go within and create a new situation within. And when you're creating those new situations within, then a part of who you are, a major part of who you are, is your essential core self, which is what I categorize as your soul or as your spiritual self, as the divine. And yes, we have these external God, angels, spirit guides, ancestors that are also, it's a whole team, right? Whole team coming in, some, attribute to Jesus, others to Allah, to whatever it is that you feel. Yes, we've got this collective, but ultimately you as this human being you're choosing still things. Even when you're getting the messages from God or from divine, you still get that free will to choose. And so relationships are trying to kind of come in and say, okay, choose maybe to go down this road, so you can start getting a little bit more to the core of things, as opposed to just you trying to just choose, blindly. Everything is trying to help each other.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, they'll get out of a relationship like, oh, that didn't work out or whatever. Like we watch, we watched the Pop the Balloon. That's one of our little
Oh
favorite
Lord, it's our ratchet. Not the
our
Netflix, y'all, the YouTube.
the
The
YouTube
YouTube,
one,
because
right? Our
there's a
little
difference.
favorite guilty
Yes.
pleasure.
Yes, it is.
And when someone asks, well, what did you learn about your last relationship? What's one thing that you learned about your relationship last? What did you learn, like your takeaway, like your growth? And people be like, yeah, well, to not, it would be something just so fluffy, like they didn't
So
really care.
superficial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't even paying attention in their relationship.
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
like, well, I learned to, take out the trash more. I don't know.
And
I shouldn't
and
take out the trash. But the thing is that people will leave a relationship and not and thinking that, oh, I didn't work out with that person and let me get into another relationship. Well, the thing is that if you did not work on yourself, you're gonna take that right into the next relationship. And it's gonna
absolutely.
be a whole different scenario, but that same thing is going to be right there. Um, you know,
Yeah.
there until you're aware of it, and
Right.
then you start working on it.
Right. And often, and I cannot say this loud enough, because I know I have a few clients that I'm working with them around relationship, around either sustaining current relationships, changing relationships, or drawing in relationships. And I'm always telling them, especially when you're drawing in, or when you're dating, or when you're, wanting to meet people. I know people will say, "Oh, I date with intent, or I date to marry, or I date," and it drives me a little bit batty, just personally, to hear I date to marry, because you have to, to date to marry is already bringing your brain trying to get all the way across the fence and through the woods, when we haven't even like stood in the moment to check ourselves. You know what I mean? And so I say, when you're in that dating space and you're, still wanting to kind of find that connection, date to get to know yourself. Like, go out, talk to people, experience. When you see that he did or she did something that was, instead of so quickly, well, they're such and such. No, no, no. Take a beat and ask self, why did that just bother me so badly? What was that? That and not quickly talk about them, but what inside of you? What are you experiencing when that happens? And then not giving it too much weight or too little weight, just kind of keeping it kind of fairly, like it's information, because you're dating. You don't have to make the decision to go down the aisle at that point. And you don't want to be trying to make that decision yet. You don't have enough data. You don't have enough data to do any of that. So if you just look at, there's nothing that we go out and become and do for a lifetime that we don't spend a lot of time researching. Think about any sustainable career or any sustainable task or something. You research, you have to take tests, you have to. So when it comes to these relationships, we just have to be willing to kind of get curious about what is getting reflected here, and less about this other person did this or did that or didn't do this or didn't do that. That's a fact, but also be thinking about, how is this making me feel? what is it triggering maybe inside of me, and not putting the judgment on it, but just getting curious. That's my famous thing, getting curious. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
this was good. Do you want to do one more question, or you want to move on to begin to wrap up?
Oh,
What
it's
do you
so
think?
good. It's so
I
good.
know, I know. And if you have questions, those of you who are watching, if you have comments, if you have something you want to ask us about relationship, please put it in the comment. I don't know if I can see it. I believe I can see if it's on Facebook. If it's on YouTube, I may not be able to see it. I apologize. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we can leave it there. I mean,
we'll come. So this is the fun thing. Every first Wednesday, we will be here about Love Code. Now, listen, if y'all are like, "Ooh, we want not just every first Wednesday, we want you to talk about Love Code more," then email again. Let me put our email up here. Then email spiritualshift33@gmail.com if there's a topic around love and relationships that you want. Please share that. Or if you are like, "No, we think you should do Love Code more than just once a month," then let us know, because what we're planning to come here each Wednesday as much as we can. Now, there might be a Wednesday, y'all, that listen, we got other stuff or conflicts. Life happens, right? We're adults. But each Wednesday, first Wednesdays is Love Coach. Second Wednesdays, next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about faith being reimagined, going beyond maybe how we believe or those narratives. And we'll have a more specific topic. So each Wednesday of the month is its own theme. That's how we were planning to do. But if you were like, I really want to hear kind of week to week for a minute about love. I mean, me and Barry love talking about love, right?
all the time.
All the time. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a relationship, I mean, you need to be talking about you need to be talking about stuff. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I mean, I don't know. That's
I
just me.
mean, that's why we seem to keep doing this thing, because we're willing to talk about this stuff, but we want to be
Right.
able to, again, I don't consider us relationship necessarily experts, but we both have been in very long-term relationship. You were in a 20-year marriage. I was in a 21-year marriage. This relationship that we're having is hitting on the 5-year almost point or so. And we take it very serious. We're very committed to that. And so we've had a lot of interesting experiences. So we've just wanted to speak from that. But what I do believe that you are very much an expert in, which is I want to kind of make sure we kind of wrap up with this, is what you do regarding spirituality. And so, as we begin to wrap up, we mentioned when we first started about you doing your spiritual coaching. And again, if you want to just quickly again say what that spiritual coaching is, if what Barry said resonated for you and you want to kind of hear a little bit more about or go down that rabbit hole of understanding self a little bit deeper and how that connects to God and something divine. I'm very biased, but I think you absolutely should at a minimum do this free discovery call with Barry to hear about his program. So if you want to talk about the program, the discovery calls are completely free. They're non-obligatory. You don't do the call and then you have to do anything. Nope. It's supposed to be a 30-minute. Sometimes you go over, but a
Yeah.
30-minute kind of thing. So maybe tell them a little bit more about that offering, and then I'm going to talk about an offering that I would love for people to join as well.
Yeah. So I wanna start with just a quick question. Like, so ask yourself, what you believed at 10 years old, what you believed at 15 years old, just about life at 10 years old and then at 15 years old. And then what you believe and know about life today. If you're, I'm assuming that you're a grown person, and what you believe about life today as a grown person. So one of the things that I talk to people about during the call and also in the program is like, if you're believing the same thing at 10 years old, 15 years old, that if you believe that same thing that you believed when you were a child, then what beyond belief, um, Faith Reimagined, the coaching program, what it helps people do is to take those beliefs that you had as a child and and grow them up.
I love that.
You know what I'm
Grow the
saying?
rope. Yeah.
You just go grow them up a little bit so that you take those beliefs and you create a lifestyle out of your beliefs. Okay, so
Mm,
that's why it's called beyond belief, you know, because we're taking what you believe and we're just growing it up so that it can become a real experiential spiritual practice in your life, like every single day.
right.
It's not religion, it's not woo woo. The world that we live in is mostly spiritual, and then there's some physical things around, but the spiritualness of our world is everywhere. It's all it's everything. um so the coaching program is it's 4 sessions, and each session we're drilling down on specific aspects of who you are, who you want to be spiritually, what is it that you want to experience from the divine. And then by that last session, we have a full laid out plan for you to experience God, experience the divine, in a whole new way. So that's kind of what Beyond Belief is about.
I love it. And
Faith
people
Reimagined,
have been signing up. You've been doing these supposed to
Discovery
be
Cause,
30-minute discovery calls and have turned into,
turned to 45 minutes, hour Discovery Call. But I
oh,
don't mind because, I want people to ask questions. I want them to understand like what's going on, what we're doing. So,
yeah. Totally, totally excited about that. So yeah, so make sure you see what's scrolling down here. Hi, Alicia. I see one of my people said hi. Hi, Alicia. If you see down here, it says email spiritualshift33@gmail.com. If that resonated with what Barry just said, if that was like, that's interesting, and I've been trying to find, and y'all know, then do yourself, invest at least 30 minutes in yourself. 30 minutes, y'all. To just get curious. Here, he does a nice, beautiful kind of presentation to go a little bit deeper in what he just said. And then from there, the two of you can kind of decide what some possible next steps are. So definitely do that. We also we have a Patreon community that's completely free. It's not paid. You don't have to pay anything, y'all. We want to be able to have these talks like this in community, not necessarily on YouTube, not necessarily on Facebook or, all the different spaces, but just in a little bit more of an intimate space as we're building this. Barry and I, as you can tell, we're very committed to doing this type of work, this soul work, this mind, body, soul work, a healthy mind, body, soul work. And so we really want to build community, but we don't necessarily want to do it on the social media platforms. So if you go to patreon.com/spiritual shift, and those of you who are part of my Patreon that says /finding your voice, this is separate. This is different. So if you're a member on my finding your voice, you can also become a free member on this. I think we might have one paid tier if you wanted to go a little bit deeper with something, but really you can absolutely join for free. And we would love to have you so that we can keep building this space so we can talk about it, not just on YouTube where it's just us talking, but that you can really be in the conversation, with us. Because we want the times that we're in right now, y'all. I mean, I don't
we
even
need
need
to
to
be in
say.
community, right? You need
You
to
need
be
to
in
be in
community.
community. You need to be in community.
We need to
We
be.
need to be in community. It's not just we're saying you, but we ourselves too. We want to build that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to talk just real quickly. Also, I have an offering. Also, I just did a "I Choose Me," my breakthrough story. Barry came to it where I told y'all. I spilled the tea. I
It was
spilled the
good. It
tea
was good.
about different breakthroughs that I've gone through in my life, and some very intimate major ones, but how those breakdowns and break aparts led to transformation and breakthroughs. And so I did that. And I did that to launch this challenge so that you can have your breakthrough story. So if you are feeling stuck, and that is with anything, if it's with career, if it's in a relationship, if it's in um, some type of part of yourself that you, if it's your health, anything that you just feel like you're having a really difficult time having that breakthrough, please, please, please sign up for the I Choose Me. That's exactly you choosing yourself. I Choose Me 3-day challenge. And it's not an all-day challenge, y'all. We meet each night starting May 27th. It's May 27th, 28th, 29th. It's going to be about 60 to 90 minutes of your time. It's at 7 p.m. Central. All the details of this are at findingyourvoiceafter40.com/I choose me. Anybody is welcome to come to this. My community that I mostly serve is women, women of color. But honestly, anybody, we again, we recognize there's a lot going on right now. And yes, my niche, what I feel like my expertise is working with women at midlife. That's like that 40 plus, but you could be less than 40 for this. I know it says after 40. But anyone that feels like they just need a beat to kind of focus on themselves, join this 3-day challenge. It's a very, very low investment amount of money to invest in yourself. All the details are there. So go there. You can sign up. We've got, I already have a few people who have signed up. I said I may have to cap this because I want to make sure that we can give the time. But right now we still have available space. So join me there. Join me there. And I think, I don't know, I think those are kind of our main things. So you're going to be contacting Barry, or put email and Barry will get that. If you want to do a free discovery call with me, if you're like, I kind of want to learn a little bit more about that challenge or any of the other services or astrology, any of that, then still email that Spiritual Shift 33. That's a joint email. So if you want to meet with me for a free discovery call, we'll arrange that as well. And I'll respond to that email. So anything else, Barry?
I think that's it. Clean your mirror. Clean your mirror. So you can see yourself.
Clean your mirror so you can see yourself in these relationships. And don't give up on love, y'all. Don't. I hear so many people say, I just, whatever. Don't give up. Not at any stage of your life. I have a client right now. She is in her mid 60s who just found amazing love after divorce, after years of being done from a divorce. She's in a really rewarding situation, a relationship. And yes, she's one of my clients coaching that I have, coaching her through. I'll take some of that. Yes. But more than that, she's doing it. She's experiencing it. And so I just don't want people to feel like if they're at a certain age or had a certain situation that went really awry or really bad, I don't want you to give up. Right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Love is out there. It's out there. Trust me.
It's very much out there. It's very much out there. So
yeah, got to be open to it.
All right. You're welcome, Alicia. I see she said thanks, Kenya and Barry. Thank you. This has been fun. We love talking about this stuff. So we'll be back again next Wednesday, I believe. Wednesday. I think we're good. And
no.
Go ahead, sweetie. You want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say if the creek don't rise, but
Anyway, we'll be back next Wednesday, and Barry will be tackling this idea of our beliefs. And I don't know. I got some ideas of what I want to talk about it, but we'll surprise you. So we'll be back. 7:30 is the time we plan for. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, click the bell so that whenever we go live, you will be alerted. So, all right. You guys be good. Take care. All right. Bye.